MJF is the new AEW World Champion, and he did it with the help of William Regal, who handed him the brass knucks after telling him to throw away the Dynamite Diamond Ring in the main event of AEW Full Gear against Jon Moxley. Hi, I'm Luke Owen, DAD. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do press the subscribe button, give us a little thumbs up while you're at it as I take you through what happened at AEW Full Gear. So the main event, MJF versus Jon Moxley. They told a really cool story throughout this. The build to this match has been that MJF wanted to win as the good guy. He wanted to win on the good guy's terms. He didn't want to cheat to win. He didn't want to be the Max of old. And so he worked this match as a babyface. He was the babyface in peril in this match. It was kind of surreal to see. And this crowd were firmly behind MJF as the babyface as well. Poor Jon Moxley, who's carried this company on his back for pretty much most of this year while everyone else has been out with injury, got booed out of the building by this crowd whenever he was on top, which was actually quite a lot of this match. So poor Jon Moxley, I hope you enjoy your well-earned rest there, bud, and hope you have a nice vacation as this fickle crowd of fans booed you because we all wanted MJF to win. But it was a really cool finish. We had a ref bump, we had another ref bump, we had a couple of near falls in there, and yeah, MJF gets out the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and out comes William Regal. And William Regal says, "If you use that, sunshine, I will punch your lights out." And so MJF throws it to one side. He is going to win this the right way. And then after a few bulldog chokes, and in fact, actually the bulldog choke, MJF tapped out, but the referee wasn't up. So Regal yells at Moxley to go and wake the referee up. He does so, and while Moxley is distracted, he slides MJF the brass knucks, the Regal brass knucks, and he clocks Jon Moxley in the head as the referee is being recovered. He gets the 1, 2, 3. MJF, the youngest AEW World Champion at the age of 26, is now on top of the mountain, and presumably with William Regal by his side. It certainly raises a lot of questions. Well, I mean, we can presume that Moxley's taking the time off that he was supposed to get in the summer. I mean, I don't know when we're going to see him next, maybe Revolution, maybe even Double or Nothing. But I think he'll take some much needed time off. But what does it mean for the rest of the Combat Club? This is a group that is named after William Regal's hometown of Blackpool. Like, what does it mean for Danielson? What does it mean for Claudio? What does it mean for Wheeler Yuta, the man who went against the best friends to join the Blackpool Combat Club to learn under William Regal? And now William Regal is siding with MJF of all people, a man that Wheeler Yuta not that long ago was having some real, twisted words with. It makes Dynamite a really intriguing show to watch come this Wednesday, and that is something that AEW has been sorely lacking since All Out. Ollie made the great point in his Dynamite review he did last week, is that it feels like AEW were just in a holding pattern between All Out and Full Gear, where they were just like, yeah, look, the CM Punk and Elite Brawl Out stuff has kind of overshadowed everything that we have done. So let's just get through Full Gear and look ahead, because the Elite are back now. We'll get onto that in just a second. And they announced a heck of a lineup for Dynamite. In fact, actually, the next 6, Dynamites and Rampages and specials and stuff. Again, we'll get into that in just a second. But that, I think, is the big news story of the day, is that, yeah, MJF is the AEW World Champion. So let's next talk about the Elite. They did make their return, their in-ring return to AEW. In fact, actually, their on-screen return as well, because they have just had those video teasers on Dynamite, and they haven't actually been on screen. So this is their big on-screen and in-ring return. It was a trios match against Death Triangle, the current champions of PAC and the Lucha Bros. And yeah, as expected, match of the night. I think, thinking back to it, I think this was probably my match of the night. I had an absolutely great time with it. It was incredible near falls, loads of great drama. It was so wonderful to see Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks wrestle again and going up against such great talent in PAC and the Lucha Bros. So this had high expectations, and it well exceeded those expectations for me as well, including the shock finish that Rey Fenix did use the hammer on Kenny Omega when he had him up for the One-Winged Angel, cheated to win, and Death Triangle retained the Trios Championships over the Elite in their return match. I think the cynical amongst us, which I was one, up front, I was one of these people, thought that Death Triangle were just there to keep the belts warm until the Elite got back, and then the Elite get back, and then just put the belts on them. I thought it would have been and like that was a very cynical part of me that just thought that's what will end up happening, and I was a bit down on that. And I was even saying during the live reactions, I really wish better for Death Triangle. Well, we've got better for Death Triangle now, because not only did they retain over the Elite, they announced that the Elite and Death Triangle are going to have a best of 7 series across Dynamite and Rampage. It is, I mean, this match was amazing. Now I get to see 6 more of them. Yeah, big thumbs up from me. I'm well into the side of this. That means the Death Triangle are 1 up at the moment in the series. Like, it was an announcement that came out of nowhere. They just put a graphic up on Dynamite, like saying, hey, on Dynamite, it's going to be the rematch, match 2. By the way, it's a best of 7 series. Me and Tempest, beyond thrilled by this announcement. I think this is a really, really cool deal. And the Elite came out to Carry On My Wayward Son by Kansas. It was a great pop from the crowd. It was a great reaction. The Elite looked fan-flippin-tastic in the ring. It was a wonderful, wonderful moment. There were other title changes on the show, though. Samoa Joe won the TNT Championship in a 3-way with Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs after he clocked Wardlow in the back of the head with the TNT Championship. It might be the Ring of Honor TV Championship, but I think it was the TNT Championship. It's been a while, so it happened a while ago now. But it was one of the many belts that AEW has. Joe hit Wardlow in the back of the head and then pinned Powerhouse Hobbs off the various Powerbomb Symphonies that he had suffered. So he is your new TNT champion, as well as being the Ring of Honor TV champion. Speaking of championship changes, haters gonna hate. Jamie Hayter picked up the interim AEW Women's Championship. I did say interim, didn't I? Sorry, it's very early. It's 5:15 in the morning here. But yeah, she it's 5:15. Yeah, 5:20. She pinned Toni Storm in a fantastic match. I think this is probably the best women's match that AEW have had on pay-per-view, because I think you could argue that Baker, Rosa, Lights Out, and the Baker Rosa cage match were probably better than this, but those were on TV. On actual pay-per-view, I think this is the best women's match they've had on pay-per-view. It was full of drama. This crowd was so behind Jamie Hayter to score the win here, and there was interference from Rebel, which we thought was going to lead to a near fall. And it was just actually will lead to the finish. Actually, just led to a great series of near falls. And in the end, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, hit the stomp on Toni Storm onto the title belt on the outside, revealed that she is on Team Jamie, and they threw her in the ring, 5 more moves, and then Jamie Hayter picked up the win, the new interim AEW Women's World Champion. It was an awesome match, an awesome moment. It clearly meant a lot to Hayter. Baker was in tears as well. Rebel was there. It was a terrific moment for the crowd. This is a crowd that were, like, in some ways behind the heels. They were behind MJF. They were behind Jamie here. They were certainly behind the Acclaimed. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, this was a great, great moment, a great, great match, and a great win for Jamie Hayter. Very excited to see what it means for the rest of the women's division, but AEW history has shown that hard to get your hopes up. But, you know, hey, look, we'll see. Maybe tomorrow will be a new day in terms of things. Looking at the rest of the card, great. By the way, this was a superb show. I've seen some reactions on Twitter to be a bit more mixed, but I had a blast with this show. Maybe it was just the company that I had with me. Maybe it was just the amazing chats that we had and the great chat that we had for our live stream reactions. But I thought this was an awesome show from top to bottom. Kicked off with Jungle Boy Jack Perry defeating Luchasaurus in a superb cage match. We then had Death Triangle beating the Elite. Jade Cargill got back her TBS Championship over Nyla Rose. It was a fine 8-minute match. Jericho retained the ROH Championship in the 4-way against Danielson, Claudio, and Sammy Guevara. 21 minutes. It was a really, really good Fatal 4-way as well. It was a tremendous little match, and Jericho picked up the win. Some seeds being sown seeds of dissent between Jericho and Sammy. So we'll see what that plays into. Sting and Darby Allin defeated Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, who might have been the show's MVP, who was a lot of fun. It was your typical Sting walk and brawl through the crowd. It was 11 minutes, and I had a ball for all of those stupid 11 minutes. It's not a good wrestling match, but boy, howdy was I entertained with it. And the Acclaimed retained their AEW Women's the AEW Tag Team Championships over Swerve in Our Glory when Keith Lee walked out on Swerve Strickland. Tired of his cheating ways, Keith Lee walked out on his tag partner. Swerve Strickland slapped him in the face when he wouldn't use the pliers on Bowens, and Keith Lee just walked down, and it left Swerve to be double teamed into oblivion, and the Acclaimed retained. So presumably they'll now go on to face FTR for the tag titles, and I guess we'll get a singles program between Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. I'm hoping for big things for Strickland in 2023 because I think the dude is money. Dude's amazing. And the last thing of note is the in-ring return of Saraya, the former Paige in WWE. She defeated Dr. Britt Baker in a 12-minute match. And, it's hard really because the problem is it came after the ROH 4-way and the crowd was so hot for that ROH 4-way that Saraya and Baker had a real, uphill struggle. I was expecting more of, this partisan crowd that was going to be going more towards Baker than they were Saraya because the promos have been so weird and off on Dynamite, but no, the crowd weren't really into either of them. I made the joke on the live stream reactions. It got about the same level of reaction that Edge's return match at WrestleMania got. Just going to leave a little pause in there for you to have a think about that one and realize what I'm saying. The crowd just weren't there for it, and it's weird. And I feel bad for Saraya. The people who were making the most noise was her brother and her little crew at ringside. And it was an okay match. It wasn't a bad match. It's just that the crowd, for whatever reason, whether it was burnout from the 4-way, whether it was still residual burnout from the trios, but for middle of the card, this kind of died a little bit of death. And it's a shame. I feel really bad for Saraya. I'm hoping that this doesn't continue on. I thought they might try and do something more heelish with her, but she was very much the babyface in this match, and Baker was very much the heel. So I don't think this overly worked. It's not a huge negative on the show, but I don't think that this was what they wanted. I don't think it's what Saraya wanted from her in-ring return. But that was AEW Full Gear in a nutshell. We'll have a full review of the show going up in a couple of hours' time by Chopper Pete Cornell. And head on over to the WrestleTalk podcast channel because Pete and Sat Iniangi will be reviewing the show there in full for about an hour or so. Oh, actually, no, sorry. Yeah, there was one more title change on the show because that Jamie Hayter win meant that and new WrestleTalk Jam That Champion is Luke Owen, D-A-D. Jam That Jam.